The Lake Tapes Part 1, or the one with the tape, aka the pilot episode, was filmed and created one sunny day in March of 2021. Daniel and I were originally going to film a Shoal Saga project called Where is Agent Jeffries, in which the story follows Abaddon looking through the multiverse for his friend, Agent Cal Jeffries, who had recently sacrificed himself to defeat the Beast. However, this project was a little too ambitious for the time, so I decided not to work on that one and create something completely different. At the time, we didn't have any plans on what to shoot, but we had a weird-looking slug mask, a giant yellow hazmat suit, a VHS, and for a location, we had a nature center with a historical park across the street. We cooked with the ingredients we had. The first scene we shot was the yellow hazmat guy finding the tape near the waterfall and falling into the water. We then moved on to shoot the cameraman finding the tape in the water and encountering the slug monster, supposedly eating the yellow hazmat guy before chasing him across a mud flap. Daniel had no issue. In fact, I thought he was quite excited to run through the mud. I had used a long 300mm lens to capture Daniel's run through the mud, and it looked fantastic. After he had climbed out of the knee-deep mud, he was completely covered, and I think he regretted it a bit. But the shot came out very clean. After that, we shot the scene where the cameraman runs into the ghost town and has a heart attack before collapsing with the tape in his hand. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. I played a character who picks up the tape and watches it, getting sucked in and turning into the said slug monster, which then makes the entire episode a time loop. But the question remains, was this episode in or was it out of the dimension? And if inside, why was my character in the tape? Either way, try not to think about it too hard. The concepts and ideas were in its infancy. After shooting those scenes, we walked across the park to a small weir, where we shot the transformation scene in which my character is painfully turned into the slug monster. With Daniel on camera and I acting my heart out with a squib on my neck, this was a little bit terrifying to film, as the sun had started going down and the waterfall was a little muddy and creepy to be in. It all turned out very well, however, and the creepy environment we shot in ended up translating on screen. After shooting the transformation sequence, we finished the shooting day by sending the hazmat suit down the waterfall, completing the first episode. Editing didn't take too long, and on March 15th, 2021, the Lake Tapes Part 1 was released on the Forest Edge Productions YouTube channel. A couple concepts were clear while we were shooting. A sentient VHS tape that's also a dimension is sucking people in, and there's monsters. And there's going to be 9 parts. And thus, the Lake Tapes was born. The Lake Tapes Part 2, or the one with the garage sale, was filmed in early April of 2021. I had an idea with a few small scenes in my head, but I decided not to write them down, letting the scenes build themselves. At the time, my good friend Connor McBain was taking acting lessons from a man named David Thompson, and so together I had them come out to star in the second episode of this brand new Forest Edge production. The two ideas I had in mind were this. A man gets sucked into the tape and turns into an orb that previously in the episode accidentally guides him to his own doom while trying to warn him to stay away, thus creating a time loop like episode 1. And the second idea was having the slug man in episode 1 evolve into a creature named Gorp. When Connor and David had arrived, we began the day by filming all the scenes at the ghost town. We started with Connor waking up and reaching out toward the town, an iconic symbol in the crude posters. His character, Mason, had just fallen into this new world and was losing not only his mind, but his voice. David did an excellent job coaching Connor through this scene, and Connor gave a great performance. After shooting these scenes, we moved to the waterfall, where we were introduced to Gorp's new form, a spear-wielding slugman who takes a mute Mason to his master. David had played Gorp with a physically emotive perfection, wearing only a robe and the slug mask. At one point, an old man walking the trails of the park passed through, and David had told me the man got spooked by the mask. We then introduced the audience to a new character, the lake. A sentient lake with an appetite for death. In this scene, we had Gorp kill Mason by stabbing him in the back with a spear. Then using a squib, we had a blood spurt splash onto the camera. We had got a very good shot from the front, and I wanted to get another from the side, but I accidentally stopped recording as we were getting the shot. So that didn't go as planned, but is still in the episode. During these scenes with David and shooting at the park, Connor's outfit consisted of a long, black coat. The reasoning was because I wanted something strange looking, but I also wanted him to wear something he wouldn't mind getting ruined by the blood effects. However, once we were finished at the park and parted ways with David, we went back to my parents' house where I was living at the time. We finished the shoot by shooting the garage sale scenes with my brother Dean, and Connor wore the iconic Redskins jersey, which became synonymous with Mason. On April 15th, 2021, The Lake Tapes Part 2, or the one with the garage sale, was released on Forest Edge Productions, further cementing The Lake Tapes as an ongoing project. After releasing Part 2, I had figured that I would release an episode every month and take each one at a time until I had 9 episodes out. But I decided that was a little bit too much for me, so I started writing an outline for 9 episodes that involved various characters I had on the back burner. One episode had the knight from my ongoing series In Dreams encounter the tape, and another where Abaddon gets sucked in. But I decided that those characters were off limits for now. In late April, I had a plan for the 3rd episode involving my iconic serial killer, Billy McStone. Early in May, I had a few friends of mine come out to the ghost town and park to film The Lake Tapes Part 3, or Billy McStone and the Lake Tapes. We began filming in order, going back and forth from the park to the ghost town until we had a full scene where a character played by Shane Pawlenski is getting chased down by Billy, expertly played by Tony Fionda, before they are both sucked into the tape. Billy soon learns that he can use the tape to trap his victims and kill them within this place. For this scene, we had Pawlenski fashion a squib to his chest and time the blood spurt with Tony's crowbar smack. Later in the day, after finishing up Pawlenski's scenes, we had to take a few-hour break as the plan required a lot more people than I had. After waiting around in the hot sun, calling and texting friends, and friends of friends, begging them to be part of this crazy episode, people started showing up, as well as Nick Painter with his brothers, and their friends showed up, and filming continued. Will Doan, a very talented cinematographer and filmmaker from MPI, had shown up to DP the rest of the episode. We went back and forth shooting the montage scene, then we headed to the ghost town to shoot the big one-shot murder scene. The oneer took about 4 hours to plan. The camera angles needed to be just right and timed where Tony would land, as well as the victims pulling their water bottles filled with fake blood out to splash Tony in the face. It took about 5 tries, but I walked away with an excellent shot that looked fantastic. To finish it all off, we filmed the rest of the scenes with Nick as Detective Blake Harrison in pursuit of Billy, along with the final fight scene where Billy shoots and kills the detective by the lake. That would be the end of the long day. On May 18th, 2021, my 21st birthday, The Lake Tapes Part 3, or Billy McStone and the Lake Tapes, was released on Forest Edge Productions, finishing off the first trilogy of the miniseries. The first trilogy had an incredible momentum to it, introducing and reintroducing the audience to characters that were yet to be iconic, but one thing was cemented already: the concept of a malevolent VHS tape wreaking havoc with its dimensional portals. From March to May, The Lake Tapes quickly became a fan favorite, and now it was time to decide what was next. In September of 2021, I got together with Connor and Jacob Horn, and we decided to pick up where we left off with the lake tapes. With a big shooting weekend imminent for the second trilogy, we decided that a prequel episode titled Lake Tapes Part 0, or Discovery, was to be filmed. So on a stormy night, we rushed to the ghost town and filmed the short in 3 hours. Jacob Horn played a character named Ernest Von Cooper, an archaeologist in 1967 discovering the lake tapes while on a dig. After getting sucked into the dimension, he loses his mind in the ghost town. We chased Horn around this town for about an hour, filming him improvising before the tape master takes over the scene and transforms him into the lake. While we were filming, an intense thunderstorm was raging through the ghost town, and lightning kept shooting off in the background. While getting the shots for the tape master, we tried to time the camera movement with the lightning, but every time we cut, the lightning would go off behind us. I think we tried to get this shot over 20 times, each unsuccessful. On September 11th, 2021, the Lake Tapes Part 0, or Discovery, was released on the channel, kicking off the second trilogy yet to come. On the days of September 17th, 18th, and 19th of 2021, the third trilogy of the Lake Tapes began filming at the park. On the 17th, Tony Fiona and David Thompson were the only ones available, so I quickly went to my shooting plan and filmed their scenes where they were either alone or together. Overall, we filmed for about 4 hours with no hiccups, a relatively easy first day featuring iconic scenes with Billy McStone, Gorp, and the Mailman. On the 18th, this was the big day. We had a full cast including Tony, David, Jacob Horn, Sophie Holmes, and even a few people I didn't intend on inviting showing up, including Jake O'Brien and Josh Brockett, both of whom were very helpful behind the scenes. We ended up wrapping late in the day with an extremely successful shoot. On the 19th, we finished up all the park scenes with the finale, so we only needed Horn, Tony, and Connor. Daniel had showed up a little later in the day, so we finished the day with Daniel's insane waterfall stunt, where he literally fell down a small waterfall featured in the film. The shoot only took a couple hours, and that was the end of that. Overall, shooting that weekend went extremely well. We shot a little over 35 hours of footage, most of which was used in the final product. In our circle, a lot of people who had attended the Motion Picture Institute, including myself, Connor, Daniel, Jacob, and O'Brien, had not seen each other or worked on a project together. The COVID-19 pandemic had affected this, but since we were shooting outside near the end of the lockdowns, it worked out very well in the end and became a big reunion for a lot of us. On October 6th, we utilized my girlfriend Jamie's parents' basement as Orion Cooper's stronghold. Before we shot those scenes, we filmed a few pickups with Connor at the park, which ended up being Mason's big cliffhanger for Part 5. The scenes we shot in the basement ended up being in Part 4 and 5. I played Orion Cooper, the last human, hiding away from the tape who destroyed the universe. Jamie was on camera while Connor and I acted our hearts out as these iconic characters. In the corner, the television played static to show the tape was still out there. Within this scene, I established an interesting concept that sadly got sidebarred and never mentioned again: the Cooper family. In Part 0, aka Discovery, we were introduced to Ernest Von Cooper, played by Jacob Horn, who meets an untimely demise becoming the Lake. However, he lives on as the essence of the Lake, who aids Mason in his mission to stop the tape. Orion Cooper, played by myself, is the descendant of Ernest Von Cooper, and is given a gun that Mason uses to kill the Lake because of that link. However, only one future outline features Orion. The rest sidebars him and never mentions him again. On October 10th, the final day of filming, Daniel and Horn came out to Clarkston, and we shot a montage of the tape terrorizing my hometown. We tied the tape on the end of a fishing line and swung it around like it's floating in the air. It was goofy, and it was a fun time, and we all bonded closer. We looked like idiots, but it was well worth it, as we actually had a random group of photographers appear in the scene. We finished up shooting the little bastards on the green screen, which was the final scene we ended up shooting. Editing took about 2 weeks for parts 5 and 6, but part 4 only took a few hours. On October 17th, 2021 at 9 p.m., the Lake Tapes Part 4, or Broadcast Part 1, was released on Forest Edge. I was sitting in the Union Restaurant in Clarkston while on a 2-year anniversary date, with the premiere on my phone. Part 4 brings back Billy, who now has powers. Mason comes back and ends up going to the future. Detective Blake has been resurrected as a woman and meets the essence of the lake, and Billy teams up with the lake. Part 4 is easily the weakest episode, mainly for setting up the next episode. On October 24th, 2021 at 9 p.m., the Lake Tapes Part 5, or Broadcast Part 2, was released on Forest Edge Productions. Part 5 is not only the longest episode, but in my opinion, the best one. In this episode, we see Gorp going through his everyday life, now almost evolved into a childlikeness before he is met face to face with Billy McStone. Meanwhile, Mason and Orion Cooper plan to go back to get the key because if Mason fails, the tape will broadcast itself on every screen and destroy the world. So he gives Mason the gun. Detective Blake, who's now a woman, is killed by Billy, and so is Gorp. And so is the mailman. Billy basically takes out everyone besides Mason. After that, Mason holds Gorp's hand as he dies, and then uses the gun to kill the lake and gets the key. After this, Mason is given the sword to destroy the key from the essence of the lake. and then he runs into Daniel's character from the first episode. However, they're both attacked by the little bastards, and Daniel falls down a waterfall. Mason escapes and realizes in a very powerful moment that I am the one who has to do this. Then it cuts to black. On October 31st, 2021 at 9 p.m., The Lake Tapes Part 6, or the finale, was released on Halloween night. In this episode, it opens with the tape floating around, gathering power before going to the Universal Broadcast Facility. Mason and Billy begin fighting, but Billy's powers are too strong. As Billy's about to kill Mason, the essence of the lake uses the sword to kill Billy and then fades away. Before Mason can destroy the key, the tape rewinds and gives Billy another chance to zap Mason in the spine. In the final moments, the tape wins. The final scene shows Orion in his compound as the door opens, and Abaddon and Cal walk in. But this is not canon anymore. The final 3 episodes garnered a large audience and was a huge hit. The Lake Tapes was officially finished and with an awesome cliffhanger episode. It was an incredible experience to direct and work on this project, and an awesome project that was very well rounded. Although I was bummed about the original scripts not being filmed, I am extremely happy with the final product. It was a huge teamwork experience as well, and The Lake Tapes wouldn't be what it is without the talented cast and crew. In the beginning of 2022, I was writing the outline and scripts for Kill the Tape, the doomed continuation of the Lake Tapes and the Shoal Saga. However, I was still itching to shoot as I hadn't shot anything since October of the year prior. One day in the middle of February, during a strange warm spell, Connor and I got together and decided to film a moody epilogue to the Lake Tapes. We decided to call it Mason's Lament. In this film, Mason revisits all of the locations he had traumatic events at in the previous projects. It was an icy, foggy day, so every location looked how it was supposed to feel. Moody and sad. With an opening monologue speech recounting Mason's world being destroyed, and a horribly depressing performance by Connor McBain, this film begins extremely well. However, the episode takes an insane turn when Captain Ezekiel Cuba, expertly played by Daniel, shows up. This character was supposed to be reoccurring, which is apparent in the Kill the Tape, and a few other Doom scripts, but this is the only appearance Captain Cuba has. Cuba attacks Mason with a lightsaber ripoff before Mason seemingly conjures a gun and shoots him dead. This solidifies the idea that the tape accidentally gave Mason powers, specifically the conjuring of weapons. On February 23, 2022, Mason's Lament was released on the Forest Edge YouTube channel, furthering the story of the Lake Tapes and cementing Mason Thomas as the main protagonist. In September 2022, I began writing a screenplay that I would adapt into a film later on in that year. The screenplay was titled The Power of Baal, or Glory to the Shoal, and would tie together the Shoal Saga and the Lake Tapes. In the first draft, Baal has let loose on Earth the Beast, a powerful Sheol-like creature. He does this in order to distract Abaddon so he can gather enough power and resurrect Andromelech, the old ruler of the Shoal. Throughout the story, we see glimpses of the past, Abaddon serving under Andromelech, but realizing Andromelech is a human who is pushing Sheolite purity, so he's overthrown. Eventually, Baal finds a power source through the Lake Tapes itself, unlike the scrap story Battle for Power, where Mason is the power source. He goes to the tape, kills Billy, and steals the key. All while this is happening, Abaddon and Cal Jeffries defeat the Beast and become friends, a very important plot point that stuck and the final cut. In November 2022, I finished the final draft of the screenplay and came up with a better title. It's Over and Beginning Again, and that would be the final installment of the Shoal saga, but not the end of the story. Over the next few months, I would shoot the project in bits and pieces until I had all the principal photography complete. Shooting began on September 15th, 2022, at the barn Daniel was working at. The barn had a lot of strange rooms, and the basement looked exactly like the endless hallways of the shoal I had in my mind. We shot a few scenes of Daniel as Bale, and then a scene between Bale and a character called Frolek. On September 22nd, 2022, in a field behind a Rotary Community Center, we shot the big fight scene between Abaddon and the Beast. I was wearing a suit with a fake gun attached to my leg, and Daniel was wearing the green screen suit with a robe as Abaddon. It must have looked strange on the security cameras. On September 24th, 2022, I got Daniel and Tony together at the Lake Tapes Ghost Town to shoot the confrontation between Bale and Billy. At the time, the road leading to the park was under construction, so we used the sounds of machinery to show Billy was building the city in the tape. It was a quick and easy overall day of shooting that became one of my all-time favorite scenes. The final days of shooting were on November 3rd and December 5th. The November 3rd shoot was very fun, as we had a few extra people helping out that night. We shot the flashback sequence with Abaddon and Andromelic at the church, and then the confrontation between Abaddon and Bale. Surprisingly, this was the first time the two characters shared the screen. We then shot a scene back at the apartment where Bale and a character called Crane have a sword duel, but this was ultimately never put into the movie. The December 5th shoot was all shot outside in the woods. It was a cold night, but spirits were high between myself, Daniel, Jacob, and Jamie. We shot the final scenes where Bale, Abaddon, Cal, and Andromelic have their final confrontation. It took a couple hours, but it was overall very successful. We had pulled up our cars and used the headlights as a backlight against the dark woods, and whoever was behind the camera had a flashlight that they would wave around, giving the light an unnatural look. Once principal photography was complete, I had Connor McBain do the voice for Abaddon, and editing began. Editing for this project took almost a month. One of my favorite memories was driving down to Alabama to stay with some family over Christmas. But we ended up staying the night in a hotel off I-75 in Kentucky due to the snowstorm. I remember sitting in the hotel room watching the snow come down out the window, covering the ground and feet of the white devil powder, while editing the last touches of the film. On December 25th, 2022, It's Over and Beginning Again was released on the YouTube channel. It was the first Christmas release on the channel and would end the year with a bang. It's Over and Beginning Again's story was simple. While Abaddon and Cal were busy fighting the beast on Earth, Bale stole the powers of the tape to bring back Andromelic. Instead of the tape playing a large role in the final confrontation, Abaddon reveals to Bale that Andromelic is, in fact, a human. Together they defeat Andromelic, but Bale double-crosses Abaddon and kills him, taking the shoal for himself. It's a fitting ending for the saga, as the struggle for power within the realm will continue forever. With Billy dead and the tape burned, literally we set the prop on fire, it was pretty clear the Lake Tapes was done for, and the shoal stories were to continue. However, I wasn't fully convinced in myself that I was done with the tape, and the characters within it. Besides, I still had a very important question to ask myself. Whatever happened to Mason Thomas? On May 12th, 2024, I wrote a very basic outline for the Lake Tapes 2, Battle for Power. And on May 13th, 2024, I managed to get both Connor and Daniel together with Tony, and for 14 hours, we shot the outline. For about 3 hours, we shot the final scenes of the ghost town, and then headed to the Island Lake Park to shoot the Dead World scenes with Gorp. We then headed to the now demolished Lakeside Mall in Utica to shoot the backroom scenes. and after that, we finished at my apartment. Editing took about 2 months and had a lot of special effects done by Daniel. But finally, on June 9th, 2024, The Lake Tapes 2 Battle for Power was released on the YouTube channel and officially ended both the Lake Tapes and the Shoal Saga, as well as Forest Edge Productions.
Here and now. Ah!
Throw your hands up. Scream.
Good enough.
It's so good, dude. That was awesome.
All right.
That was really good. Was it? You feel good?
Feels good. Good enough. Good.
This is where I was meant to be. This is mine. All I own, I see. All I see, I own. It's all mine. Yeah, I own it all.
Make me cry a little bit, like it's too much.
Woo!
Well, Billy McStone.
It's a good one we had, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I remember you in my grandma's shed. Killed this guy and is recording right now.
He deserved death. He really did.
And then this guy beat his ass a couple times.
More than a couple times.
A whole bunch.
I'm not even that wild. I'm not that aggressive. I'm usually a good guy.
Yeah,
We must bring it out of you.
Just you tap into that good fella side of me.
right. Remember that time? Right over a kid.
Oh, he had that shitty jacket on. It looked so ugly. What else could I do? Oh my god.
No, that is one of the ugliest.
That's got in the archives of movie history. You can sell that jacket for
Right.
$200,000.
Right.
I still have it.
He does what big fun sitting on money.
Oh.
That's great. It's a good run.
Showing you this picture?